You're watching KSL Television, Channel 5. This is Eyewitness News, the news specialists, with Dick Norse, Bruce Lindsay, Len Randolph with weather, and Steve Cyphers with sports.
Good evening, I'm Dick Norse.
And I'm Bruce Lindsay. An anti-American terrorist organization today claimed responsibility for last night's assassination of 2 Mormon missionaries in La Paz, Bolivia.
The 2 elders from Utah were gunned down outside their apartment in the Bolivian capital during what officials describe as an unprovoked attack.
Religion specialist Dwayne Cardall has been following the story and is in the newsroom with the latest information for us. Dwayne?
Bruce and Dick, as far as can be determined, this is the first time Mormon missionaries have been murdered for political reasons. Today, the U.S. State Department denounced the killings, and so did the LDS First Presidency, while describing the young elders as martyrs.
The 2 missionaries are identified as 20-year-old Jeffrey Brent Ball of Wanship, Utah, and 20-year-old Todd Ray Wilson of Wellington, Utah.
The elders were returning to their homes. There was a young person nearby who apparently signaled the assassins who came by in a car, and there was a fusillade of bullets, and both of the elders were gunned down and died almost instantly.
The same terrorist group that tried to assassinate former U.S. Secretary of State George Shultz when he visited La Paz last year is claiming responsibility for the death of the missionaries. In written statements to La Paz newspapers, they said, "The violation of our sovereignty cannot go unpunished. Our hatred is implacable, and our war is to the death." Here in Salt Lake, the LDS First Presidency said, "We regret that anyone would think that these representatives of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who have been sent to preach the gospel of peace, would be characterized as enemies of any group. They have died as martyrs in the cause of the Lord." Spokesman Richard Lindsay says nearly 400 LDS missionaries are serving in Bolivia, and he says every precaution is being taken for their safety. And in La Paz, the president of the mission says the missionaries are being urged to stay close to home.
There's a great deal of shock and concern on the part of all of the missionaries, of course, that something of this nature would occur to missionaries who are innocent victims, of course, of any kind of terrorism. There's a great deal of concern, but the missionaries are staying in their quarters today, and things are under good control.
The mission president says they had absolutely no warning of the attack, although he says there have been several minor bombings of LDS chapels in Bolivia during the last 9 months.
Well, Dwayne, does that mean that it could be because they are Mormon missionaries, or is the assumption that it's because they are Americans that they were the objects of the attack?
Well, one expert we spoke with today said without doubt it was anti-American, not anti-Mormon. Gary Neeleman is a journalist who has spent much of his career covering Central and South America. He said Bolivia is a country without a lot of U.S. presence or high-profile American targets.
What I'm saying is that maybe the only really vulnerable target for a group of anti-American fringe lunatic types would be a couple of American passport-carrying missionaries that are, in one way or another, identified with the United States.
Neeleman believes this is an isolated case and doesn't think other missionaries necessarily are in danger. Dick and Bruce?
I guess there are no plans to pull the missionaries out of that country then right now.
Today the church spokesman said no plans to evacuate missionaries are even being considered at this time.
All right. Dwayne, thank you. KSL Radio talked with Mission President Stephen Wright in La Paz today by telephone. He talked to reporter Bob Schildmeyer about carrying on with the missionary work in Bolivia.
We're taking a positive approach in this matter, and we feel that the wisest thing to do is for the missionaries to return to their normal duties and continue their routine as they have in the past. As Joseph Smith said, no unhallowed hand can stop the work from going forward, and we firmly believe that's true.
Do you feel, though, as news of this gets around the community there in La Paz, that it might be a deterrent to your missionary efforts?
I think it will have just the opposite effect. I think it will bring people to a realization of the good the church does, and they will be more likely to invite the missionaries to their homes.
The tragedy in Bolivia leaves residents in 2 Utah towns in shock, wondering how something like this could happen. We have 2 reports, the first from news specialist Robert Walls.
Elder Todd Ray Wilson left home just under a year ago. One of 8 children, he grew up in Wellington, a rural town in Carbon County. Friends say he was excited about going to Bolivia. His stake president, Roger Branch, sent Elder Wilson on his mission. Last night, he had to tell his parents their son wasn't coming home.
And yes, it was difficult, but again, because of the attitude of the family, things were good. But they made me feel good. They comforted me, and so it wasn't as hard as I thought because of the way they handled it.
Todd Wilson graduated from Carbon High School in 1987. Teachers describe him as a good kid who got along with everyone. He studied Spanish his senior year, ironically the language spoken by those who took his young life.
I couldn't believe that it could happen to such a nice kid. It was just really a shock to hear about that this morning.
Wilson worked at a fast food restaurant to earn money to pay for his mission. Today, his former co-workers wore black ribbons on their uniforms in memory of their friend.
2 regular fries.
We're just a small family here at the store, and we've got a lot of people that are very, very sad, and a lot of tears that are being shed today.
Elder Wilson's family understandably didn't want to be on television today, but through friends, they say they're proud of Todd and believe in the work he was doing in Bolivia, just as they know he did. The other missionary was from the town of Wanship. Carol Makita has more on that story.
Wanship residents are in shock that anyone would have wanted to harm Jeff Ball. Everyone told us he was just one of those outstanding young men. In 1987, his senior year at North Summit High School, he was the student body vice president. But they remember him best on the football field. He was a star. The coach built his offense around Jeff. Today, the coach is upset and angry.
I have feelings 2 ways. I'm hurt for Jeff, for his family, and a little angry that they would, from what I hear, assassinate 2 young boys over a political issue. That kind of bothers me.
Gary Stoker played football with Jeff. They were buddies. He says the community has suffered quite a loss.
Probably more than people realize. It's like I said, Jeff would do anything for you. He tried to make it so life was easy. That's about all I can tell you.
He just did everything, and everybody just liked him.
Word spread quickly through the small town that Jeff Ball had been killed. Neighbors decided to help the Ball family by cleaning up the yard because so many people would be dropping by. The family says Jeff was excited about serving a mission to Bolivia.
When he decided to go, he went from being a teenager to a young man. And really, we all commented on what a phenomenal change, not only a physical change, but the maturity. Sorry. He really he was such an example.
The community has set up a scholarship trust fund in Jeff Ball's memory. They will accept donations at First Interstate Bank in Colville or at North Summit High School. Carol Makita, Eyewitness News, Wanship.